But if you really pay attention, there have been countless moments over the years that made people pause, rewind, and question what was actually going on, especially when it comes to how Busta Rhymes reacts toward women compared to how comfortable he seems in rooms filled entirely with men. There are multiple clips floating around where he appears visibly irritated with female fans over the smallest interactions, like the widely discussed incident where a woman lightly touched him and he immediately snapped, throwing a drink and yelling as if something extreme had happened, and people couldn't understand why his response was so aggressive. That behavior stood out even more when contrasted with scenes from clubs and VIP sections where people noticed it was often only men around him, which led to quiet whispers long before the internet ever caught on. Over time, Busta Rhymes started catching criticism from all directions, and what made the situation more intense was that the stories weren't coming from random internet trolls, but from people who claimed they were once close to him, including former bodyguards, promoters, and individuals who said they were present during these moments. One former bodyguard in particular claimed that Busta had very specific expectations when it came to who was allowed in his VIP section, allegedly using coded language that promoters already understood, and when those comments surfaced publicly, social media exploded because it suggested this behavior wasn't isolated but routine. As reactions poured in, some people dismissed the claims outright, others laughed them off, while many said they had heard the same things years earlier but never thought they would become public. As the stories continued to spread, individuals began sharing personal experiences that dated back more than a decade, including one man who said he was out with Don Benjamin around 2012 and ended up at a club where Busta Rhymes was already present. According to him, the rumors were already well known in certain circles at that time, and he even warned that if Busta ever crossed a line with him, there would be an immediate response. He described walking through New York City one night when someone suddenly grabbed his hand firmly, and at first he didn't realize who it was until he noticed a large flip mode chain, looked up, and recognized Busta Rhymes standing there holding his hand while a large bodyguard watched closely from the side. That moment left him uneasy, especially because Busta continued holding on while talking, as if the situation was completely normal. Stories like this began stacking up, and when former associates openly described Busta using harsh labels, many people said it wasn't shocking because it lined up with things they had quietly heard for years. As these newer claims gained traction, the internet started reconnecting them to older rumors that never fully disappeared, which is when Orlando Brown's name re-entered the conversation. Orlando, who has been known for making chaotic and controversial statements, publicly named Busta among several artists he claimed to have known behind the scenes, and while many people questioned Orlando's credibility, others admitted that the level of detail in his claims made them uncomfortable enough to listen. The discussion widened even more when people revisited the idea that hip-hop has long struggled with contradictions around masculinity, image, and secrecy, something Wendy Williams openly talked about years before it became acceptable to even mention. Wendy's name resurfaced as people recalled how she once spoke about powerful figures in the industry and allegedly paid a price for it. Stories circulated again about incidents involving Busta in the mid-2000s, including a 2006 situation where a male fan allegedly tapped him on the shoulder in celebration, only for Busta to snap, reportedly use a slur, and express visible disgust, shocking those around him. That same period included allegations that he made threatening phone calls to radio executives, suggesting artists wouldn't do business with certain stations if they continued certain conversations. In 2007, when asked directly about homophobia in hip-hop during an interview, Busta abruptly shut it down and walked away, a moment that stayed in people's minds because of how defensive it seemed. Instead of silencing rumors, moments like that appeared to amplify them, especially as whispers about his private life continued circulating behind closed doors. Long before television fame, Wendy Williams was known for allowing callers to share unfiltered stories on radio, and some longtime listeners still claim they heard allegations involving Busta that were later scrubbed from the internet, including a disturbing story of an alleged intimate encounter followed by violence and silence. Those recordings may no longer exist publicly, but people who remember that era say the damage was already done because the story spread rapidly. Wendy also made similar claims about other major figures, which later fueled the belief that she was targeted for speaking too freely. Years later, Voices like Jaguar Wright revived these conversations, describing an industry culture built on intimidation, pressure, and power, where people were afraid to speak because careers, safety, and access were on the line. When fans look back at Busta's long-standing friendship with other powerful figures in the industry, including public praise as recently as 2023, the timing made people uncomfortable, especially given what later came out about others around him. When people examined Busta Rhymes' history more closely, they noticed a pattern of aggression that seemed to follow him for years. In 2006, he was allegedly involved in an altercation after someone spit on his car. Later that same year, authorities reportedly found a machete in his vehicle, leading to serious legal trouble. In 2007, he was arrested again after allegedly assaulting a former driver during a dispute over money, eventually pleading and receiving probation. Then in 2009, reports surfaced claiming he paid $75,000 to a fan after another incident escalated too far. Each time something like this happened, the rumors about his personal life resurfaced louder, as people felt the anger, secrecy, and alleged control issues were all connected. These incidents also fueled discussions about why he appeared so hostile toward women in public settings while behaving very differently in other environments. More first-hand stories followed, including one man who described being pulled into Busta's VIP section while out with Don Benjamin and a friend who was openly gay. According to him, Busta immediately focused on that friend, pulled him past the rope, isolated him in the section, and made comments about his appearance. When the man later tried to leave after another artist never performed, he claimed Busta became furious, splashed him with water bottles, and that a bodyguard allegedly struck him, all because he attempted to walk out. That man eventually took his story public, explaining that many people stay silent because proximity to fame matters more than speaking up. He again pointed to the repeated videos of Busta snapping at women, questioning why that behavior had become so normalized. Other men shared similar experiences, including one who said Busta grabbed his hand during Halloween weekend in New York City and refused to let go while inviting him into his section, with a bodyguard watching closely the entire time.